Welcome everybody. I'm Leanne. We'll be starting in about 5 minutes. Okay, so I think what we might do is just spread some seats around.
Yes. See that interesting voice at the old strop. Have you got the strop? Strop on the back of the I think I was threatened. No, never. Yes. No, I'm sure that's no. So I sometimes And we know the English of the
Welcome everybody. If you need to take a seat, could you find a seat? And then we'll see if we need to bring some extra seats out. And if you're okay to stand, would you mind to stand in the back a little bit? Or just sit. So feel free to take a seat if you need one. We have a few extras. That's just like a bit of dry. Now, everyone else, you're okay for a seat? Seat. You guys are good? Would you like a seat? Corey's got one coming. Oh, waiting for the boss, if you're watching online. Do you want to, or do you want to stand?
I might stand for the first little bit.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, thanks. Do you want to say something first? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Is that all right? So we've got the stream here, so we'll just step aside a little bit so people can see us.
So we're doing the stream straight away, are we?
Yeah, so that's happening at the same time.
Oh, okay. Bloody hell.
So, okay, welcome everybody. Thanks so much for coming today. I'm Leanne Peters, and my husband Corey is over the back there, and we welcome you to Harmony on High Street here in Campbelltown. And we're here to celebrate Faye Dixon's latest artwork, or actual exhibition, Untamed Essence. So hopefully you've all been in there and had a look and sort of soaked up the space there. For me, I find or feel that this artwork, it reminds me of, or it brings up memories, the subconscious, the unknown possibilities, dreams, and also aspects of myself. I actually feel a little emotional actually, because I was last night when I was sort of thinking about what I was going to talk about, all the artwork just felt like it was sort of, I was soaking it up. So I invite you to imagine that you kick off your shoes and take a nice big breath, and imagine that you're in that room and you can feel Faye's beautiful artwork envelop you, and feel it support and hold you, and perhaps trigger and test you, but also feel it strengthen and activate you. So Faye is a long-standing Tasmanian abstract and expressionist artist of over 50 years, which is amazing. That's longer than my age. Sorry, Faye. And we're thrilled to be featuring Faye's artwork in this exhibition. Sorry, Faye. But I'd like to hand the floor over to Faye now. I'm going to be her little... Oh, would you like to hold that?
I can.
Okay. So go for it.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank Leanne and Corey for having this space available for artists that want to do a body of work and love to present it to long-term art lovers and art lovers that are beginning to find out what art is about these days. So first of all, I want to thank you for that. There's not many galleries around, and this is a really nice one. So that's good. And then I'd like to thank everybody for coming, because some of you have come a long way, and so that's quite heartwarming for me, and I'm very appreciative of that. So thank you all for coming and supporting me. Everybody, every artist I know expresses themselves slightly differently, and some people go the landscape way, and I notice on the Glover site there's been a lot of negative and positive remarks on there, which have been very interesting, and it showed me that abstract art is not something that's easy to understand for laymen. It's something that some people can't get, a bit like me with mental actually, can't get their head around it. So I'd like to just say that abstract art is something that we paint our experiences and our feelings And it's not easy to get your feelings on canvas. How do you do that? So, first of all, it's very, very different sort of art. There's all kinds of art: expressionist, impressionist, figurative, commercial, decorative. So there are all kinds of art, and I think everybody should do art because it's so good for you, and it's great therapy. And as I said in the radio the other day, you can do it when you're very, very, very old, which you can't play football when you're very, very old, or anything else taxing like that. I think, well, many reasons we do art. Picasso said we do art, we create to dust our souls. And he would say that, wouldn't he, if we know a bit about Picasso. But also, I would go one further there, and I would say we do art, we make art to nurture our souls. I started art very, very young, but I think because I was brought up on a farm, I got very close to nature, and I used to examine it. And one day I remember going across the paddock, a couple of paddocks away from home, which I shouldn't have done at that age, probably 7 or 8, sitting in the grass, and I watched this tiny, weeny insect you could hardly see, crawling up this even more fragile piece of grass about that long, and little insect would crawl up and he'd slip down a bit, and he'd crawl up and he'd slip down another bit, and then finally he got to the top, and that taught me to be stoic and strong and never give up. Another day I went down into a boggy patch on another farm we were living on, and I caught 24 frogs. And I picked them up from under the logs, which there could have been snakes under there, but I was inspecting and learning about nature and feeling close to nature. So I picked each frog up and had a good look and watched the texture on it, watched the marks, watched the colour, how big they were, and then I put it back where I got it from. And so that taught me a lot about nature and how it works and how frogs breathe. And I think some of those shapes unknowingly come out in some of my abstract paintings. I don't know, but I think they might do. So that's all very useful. And I do feel very sorry for kids that just live in a high-rise building and don't get out to do anything like that, because it teaches you about life and how to deal with life. And I think creating is one way of getting to the, shall I say, the depth of yourself, the core of yourself. People talk about she's lovely, he's a nice man, he's this, he's that. But what's the core like? Well, I always seem to go straight to that core and know what that core is like. And I think that's because I grew up with nature. I think that's all to do with learning about that. Yes. Also, my work has changed from doing the impressionist watercolours, all types of exploring with medium. I think I've put myself through every possible thing I could as far as learning about art and exploring what you can do with art. And I really loved, for a long time, playing around with discordant colours, because if that can't happen, if that colour can't go to that colour and work, well, I'm not having that. I'm going to make it work. So I'm very stubborn about that sort of thing. So I worked with that a long time, discordant colours. So I learned a lot about colours. And with my students, I know other people that do this, I definitely wouldn't allow them to have any other colour except the red, white and blue and black, because you have to have a bit of black sometimes, because you learn about colours then. And I had a lot of students at one stage where they'd been to big schools, art schools, quite important people, but they had no idea about colour and they didn't have much idea about creativity. So that was really interesting. So I loved working with people like that. And I wondered what they did know And so I put them through a few very creative, shall I say, tests, and they loved it. So they learned a lot. But we had a lot of fun as well. So I've been teaching for a lot of years over different periods of time. Now I've had a lot of big spells because life smacks you in the face sometimes, and you just have to deal with that. And you can't be doing those wonderful things like making art because you just don't have the time. Then my art got to a stage which everybody loved at the time. And some people now say, oh, I really wish you'd paint like you used to paint. Well, how can you paint like you used to paint if you're growing? I'm sure none of you people are the same person that you were before you walked in that door, because you've seen more, you know more, you've taken in more. You're all different. So I don't know how people can do the same art year after year after year after year, because to me it's kind of like being dead, really, for me. So I think that the more you put yourself out there, the more you create, the more trust you have in yourself, and not fear having a go at something that's different, not doing the same because everybody else is doing the same, and that sort of thing. I think you've got to get out there and be brave and be fearless about your art and delve into yourself, because I think the more you get into yourself through abstract art, I think the more you know yourself, the more you understand people, and I think the more you grow. And I could say a lot more, but I won't, because that's quite a bit. But thank you for listening.
What would be the artist who had the most influence on the way you formed?
I have to get up closer, Edna. Sorry. Could you say that again? You've got a soft voice. Sorry.
Your long history of making art and your childhood, influences. Who were the artists do you think had the most influence on forming the kind of art that you've done? Because I've had artists that influenced me, and I know everybody has to begin with. So which ones do you think were?
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Di. I think not an artist so much as philosophers and designers. Mostly philosophers, I think. I think I've got more out of reading books, listening to music than I have. I haven't really got a favourite artist, but I have got a favourite. Artist in the way that Orban, Desiderius Orban, he used to work in. He had his studio in Crow's Nest in Sydney, and he taught about authenticity, and your body has a rhythm, and so I go with the rhythm. I dance when I'm painting. Couldn't have anybody in the studio with me because I dance all over the place. I think what I'd say is I gently attack my canvas, and sometimes a little bit more, so passionately attack my canvas a bit. But it's all to do with movement, your body harmony, and we all have body harmony. It's probably, I would describe it as the same as your DNA in a way, that it's yours alone. You know when somebody's dressed up differently and they're walking up the street, but you know who it is because they have that your body harmony is yours alone. And so I think that's the sort of thing that I got a lot out of from art. Can I tell you a funny story about Orban? I've met with Orban. I spent a beautiful afternoon with him and Lloyd Breeze and another friend from Sydney, Joe. Orban was sitting there, it was 101, nearly 102, and the night before, my friend Val from Kui, and we were trying to sleep, but we were so excited. And I kept thinking, oh, please don't die tonight. Please don't die tonight. Because he'd been my idol for a long, long time. And anyway, we made it. Joe picked Lloyd up and picked us up, and then we went to Northdown and spent this beautiful afternoon. And Orban, as I say, was nearly 102, about 3 months off it, I think. And he was sitting there in his muffs, but standing beside him was this beautiful pastel still life floral pastel, and it was delicate and it was beautiful. So obviously he still did a little bit of art every now and then when his fingers felt okay, I suppose. But all afternoon we were sitting there having different coffees and chocolates, all the most amazing chocolates, and he'd even with he'd take his arthritic fingers out of the muff and he'd go, no, I can't click, but he'd click, and anyway this lady would go and rush and get another big box of beautiful, stunning chocolates, and then we'd talk a while again, and Lloyd looked up at me once and he said, oh God, he said, I talk too much, you're going to have to shut up for a while. But they were all very interesting, and talking about art is always good for me anyway. I'm sure it is for a lot of you people here. And so when we went to go out, I didn't want to leave him. He had such a presence. He was such a beautiful man. And so he was there waving to me, and had my fingers through the door, just peeking through the door, my last look at him, waving to me. And that was one of the most memorable times of my life, because he had such a presence and he was such a beautiful person. And I don't know, the Tasmanian Museum has some of his work down there, as they do a few other very famous, lovely people that I met over the years. But anyhow, so I think your art grows with you. If you don't grow with it, you may as well not do it. It's a waste. But it is good for therapy, so if you want to do it for therapy, I think that's fine. But anyway, I'll close with that and hand it over to Leanne again.
Thanks, Faye, that was great. So I say the quote and then we'll sit down?
Yeah.
The quote?
Yeah,
We'll sit down?
Yes,
Yep.
that'd be great.
Okay, so this is a quote from Leonardo da Vinci. And imagine yourself perhaps in with Faye's work as you listen to this. It should not be hard for you to look at the stains on the walls, or the ashes of a fire, or the clouds of mud. And if you consider them well, you will find marvellous new ideas, because the mind is stimulated to know new inventions by obscure things. The longer you look at an object, the more abstract it becomes, and ironically, the more real.
It's a nice quote, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I think it just goes so well with this exhibition.
Absolutely. Okay, shall we talk about your exhibition a bit?
Yes, okay.
So we're going to ask for questions soon, so get your questions ready. I think the first thing that I'm interested to know is what, being an abstract artist, it's not usually, I don't know if accepted's quite the right word, but understood maybe by most people. So what would you recommend as an approach or a way to see what it is that maybe we're supposed to see in abstract? Is there anything you can recommend as far as a viewer looking?
Well, abstract art is very different from landscapes, etc. So I think you have to look into it. You have to stand a while and look into it. You can't just walk past and think it's marks and, oh, my 6-year-old child could do that. I think that's just a throwaway line that people have that don't understand it and don't take the time to actually look into it. I think you have to really look into abstract art. You have to look into the marks and the colours and you're not reading a landscape, you're not looking at, you've got to look into. And that's probably the right way to go about it, I think.
And I suppose too, we can probably feel it maybe in our bodies.
It's how you respond to it, because it's very personal.
Yeah.
So my art is very personal to me, but when the viewer looks at it and they look into it, it becomes personal to them. But they have to take the time. It's not a walk-through thing that you have to actually be interested enough to take the time.
Yeah, and I guess too, like sometimes the reaction might not even be positive. Like we might even be stirred or feel uncomfortable about a piece of abstract.
That's really good.
That's
I
a
like
good
that.
thing?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a good thing, because then they start to ask questions of themselves and other people, and they start talking about art, not pictures. They start talking about art, the things that make up art. So I think that's always a good thing.
Excellent. And so with this one behind us, it's totems. Can you tell us a bit about how did this come to form? What was your preparation in it becoming? What can you tell us about?
Well, I always like to prepare the canvas well. Doesn't matter what with, but a couple of coats of really good paint. Acrylic paint I'm using at the moment. And with this exhibition, it was a bit different from the last one, or the last two I did 5 or 6 years ago. This one I just used one brush mainly, sometimes just one small brush, but mainly it was just one brush, and did the whole painting. And I decided to actually be fairly pure with it, just paint, brush, movement, body rhythm. Not putting pieces on, using different tricks, which is dozens of tricks when you're painting. It's dozens of tricks. Not using any tricks, just using your body rhythm and allowing the canvas to talk to you, the painting to talk to you, and just going with it, trusting it and going with it. And of course you end up seeing something then toward the last bit. I think you end up seeing something, the artist sees something which has a meaning to them. They feel the meaning, but probably don't understand the meaning or even realise fully the meaning. Sometimes I don't realise the meaning of a painting that I've done for 6 months. And I remember Anne McDonald, a beautiful abstract artist in Sydney, and I saw her, somebody interview her one time, and they said, they watched her work for a while and saw she was working very abstractedly. And he said, do you name your paintings before you paint the paintings? Oh, she said, no, I never do that. She said, I always name them after. Well, I sometimes name mine 6 months after, because sometimes the things that come from deep inside you, which could be memories, which could be subliminal memories, could be genetic memories, you don't know. They come from very, very deep inside you. And if you're brave enough to go that deep, past the subconscious and into that extra depth of yourself, it will come out to have a meaning for you. And it might come out to be something that an experience you had 20 years ago, 50 years ago. It could be something like that, but you don't know. And as I say, it could be something that's in your gene. It could come out genetically, and it's come out because you've allowed yourself to go that deep with it. A lot of people don't understand that because how can you go deep with just putting paint on a canvas? But you can if you allow yourself. I go into the studio mindless. I try to be mindless. If I'm not mindless, I just go back out again. So I just want to get to that depth and be brave enough to get to that depth without needing something to prompt me from the environment or still life or even an object of any kind. I really like to go in and begin my work like that.
So it sounds like you're very open and sort of really fully expressive, not just necessarily picking up a colour and painting something. Like it's a very full
I never think about colour.
you.
I never think about colour. The colour is whatever my hand goes to on the day, but I don't cognitively think about it at all. So that doesn't happen either. When I say mindless, I mean mindless.
She's blank.
I'm blank.
Switched off. So when did you start painting?
Oh, I started painting when I was. I did drawing in my teens every night after doing farm work till I went to bed. And before that, I used to win it. You know how people win fruit prizes at school. You've probably all done it. You know, the fellow by the billabong and you know, those sort of funny things, usually in pastel. But then I went to a weekend. I was carrying twins, of which one's here today, and we were on a farm at Trewata, and so I actually got a weekend off to go with Alan McIntyre. I don't know if people would remember Alan McIntyre from Launceston. Lovely man. Well, he did a portrait sort of weekend down at Edith Creek. We were living at Trewata at the time. And so I actually got time off and went and did that. And that was my first going to someone else to do something about arty, to do something arty. And then I just started painting in oil. Then I started painting, there's, big beautiful watercolours that you people do. And then more impressionist. And then it wasn't enough for me, because I thought, what am I doing? I want to learn about myself. I want to learn more, and I love quantum mechanics and all of that sort of sciencey stuff. It was my best subject at school, so I love all that. So I think all of that comes into it a bit.
So it sounds like science and nature you've talked about too, and philosophy, these are all important to you. So
Very.
where does your art fit with all of those things?
I think it does.
Yeah.
I think it has all of those in it. That's why people say to me, they like the way I paint, because I paint differently, because every time they look at their work, and some people have had my abstract works for probably 30 years, and they say, I still love your painting. As a matter of fact, a lady just recently, a person I know, she's just redecorated a whole lounge room and passageway because she wanted to put this painting that they've had for a long time, she wanted to put it in a spot where every time she goes through another door she can actually see it, because she said, every time I look at it I see something different in it. And to me that's beautiful, because that's really what it is. It's about life. It's not about a theme like landscape, rivers, whatever. It's not about it. It's about all of that.
It sounds like it's like deeper than a pretty picture sort of.
I don't paint
thing.
pictures.
You don't paint
I don't paint
pictures, let alone
No.
not pretty pictures.
I love some of them that other people paint, but I don't paint pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, is there anything else you'd like to say before we
No.
see if there's any questions?
No, I think people are nearly going to sleep.
Oh, okay. Well, are there any questions out there by anyone? Yes?
Do you think that there's a big message that you're trying to convey in all your artwork, or do you think it's telling a story?
A big message.
Do you have like one big message you think that you're trying to put out into the world, or do you think they're all just...
Oh, that's a good question, Drew. Oh, you've done well. I think the message that I'm putting out is... I think the message I'm putting out is to live life, to put your energy into life, and to love people, love life, and be brave with whatever you do. Be brave. Don't mind if people don't like it. I don't mind if people don't like my work and go, oh, God, da 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 da. Doesn't hurt me one little bit. So I think that you've got to do what you do. You've got to live your life. You can't be somebody else because people like that person. You've got to be yourself. And that's the message I think I put out there.
Very good. There's another question over here.
Oh,
What's your favourite art piece? Why is it your favourite?
art piece? Not my work, somebody else's.
What you've painted? What's your favourite?
Oh, what did I paint? Well, at this one in here.
Anyway.
Okay, well, I've got two. Well, I mean, I didn't used to like any of my work. I used to let other people like it and me going, oh, yeah, it's all right. But I'm starting to like it a bit now, so I think I'm becoming more real. I really like From the Seeds, because it is very much a mother thing. It's from all of the regeneration, everything that's surviving. It's sort of like birth and death. It's about all of that, and I really like that, and I think it really says that if people look into it. And I quite like the what is it? Yeah, no, I quite like this one because that's topic of the day. That's a very political painting, and I'm very keen to see what people think of that and say about that by the end of the exhibition.
Is that the jackboots one?
Yes.
Yeah, so the jackboots one, which is direct from the door as you look ahead.
No, I wasn't in a political mood. I mean, I'm a political person, but I wasn't in a political mood. I just went out mindless. But that's what came. So you see the depths of yourself, and that depth, that story, whatever it is, story to me, may have been coming for years. May have been gelling in there for years. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows what we really are?
So very good. Any other questions? Yes.
How do you choose the colour of a painting? If it just comes from anywhere, do you just look at your paints you've got there and think, oh, I'll use that one today, or does it? Do you think about what you might want to
It's
do?
whatever is closest to me, I think. I'm lazy. It's just whatever is closest to me. But I do like to use a bit of white now, whereas I rarely use white. I use more Aboriginal colours. Well, not Aboriginal colours, autumn colours, I suppose you would say. I use more of those. And I guess they were a bit Aboriginal colours when you think about it. But no, I don't select anything. It's just whatever's closest to me, or maybe whatever I've got the most of at the time. It's like cooking. You know, you just throw this into, oh, I've got a bit of that. Yeah, no, we'll use that. It's a bit like that. I can see my sons over there laughing because they know that so well.
That's funny.
So yeah, I just make things up. Or they make up themselves.
It's probably good actually, or quite freeing not to be attached to like pre-planning even just a colour. You're just sort of letting the colour, whatever's there or whatever you've got excess. Or a meal. A bit of this and a bit of that.
It speaks, yes. Well, I think it just begins to speak to you. And then I don't use too many colours. Too many colours just fluff things up a bit for me. I'm not a very frilly type person when you think about, I mean, I love colour, but I'm not myself. That's not for me. That's not for me. I'm not saying I don't like for anybody else's work in it, but it's just not for me. And you've got to be real. If you know what you are and who you are, you have to actually go with that.
Yeah.
Much as I'd like some really pretty colour sometimes and think, oh yes, this will be different. No, it's not me.
Very interesting. And I think there was another question, was there, over there? Thank you.
First of all, congratulations on this fabulous exhibition.
Thank you.
I'm always in awe of a person who can openly express themselves and put yourself out there to be judged and to be commented on. My question is, what's most important to you when making art?
Oh. That's most important to me. Well, I think to paint in a natural process, because I think when you're making art of any kind in a natural process, not the tried and true. I mean, for instance, when people go to TAFE and learn to paint or draw, you can always tell they've been to TAFE to learn to paint or draw, because they have a dot up here and a dot down here and a dot over here and a dot over here, and everything's proportional. And you notice all the famous old artists, there's not many of them that paints proportionally. You see Lautrec, you see Da Vinci, you see a lot, most of the old artists. Not the ones that painted for the king and painted particular work for the king and the queens and all that, because that was all very imitative. Beautifully painted, but very imitative. They didn't have much imagination with it. It was, most of them. It's just like, well, it's like, I know artists who, and I don't mind if they do it at all, but there's a different way of art, who just go out into the garden, take a picture, put it on a canvas, then draw all around it and draw the shapes and all of that sort of thing, and then shade in where the shade's on, but it's all imitative. There is not, if once you, well, it's like doing anything. Once you learn how to do something, how to wield a brush, and get skilled at that, anybody in the world can do that. And I'm not putting it down, it's another way of painting, but anybody can do it. It's just like an assembly line thing, and everybody can learn to do that. You can learn it from books, you just learn it from practicing. All your skills you learn from practicing. But imagination is the big thing, and you've got to be creative and allow yourself to be free, to allow your imagination to work well for you. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Thank you. Excellent. Are there any more questions?
Thanks
Yes.
for that
Just
question.
going back to what you said earlier, the difference between abstract art and other types of art. Is it a reasonable working definition that abstract art names itself after, whereas other types of art name themselves before? Now, this is an English countryside as opposed to, what you're painting.
Yes.
Abstract art, it kind of names itself later.
Yes, I think that's how it and it all depends on the interpretation of the artist, the feeling of the artist gets from it. You might get somebody else to look at it and interpret it differently. Interpretation for artworks is a very interesting thing because we're all different. We all have different experiences, which means we see things differently through our eyes, which is through our brain. And so people can see things so differently and interpret them so differently. Look at, I'm just trying to think of his name, the American artist. I can't remember it, so it doesn't matter. But anyway, one of the American artists, he used to paint, you might remember, Jenny, Women V and that sort of thing, or you might remember Edna. Anyway, he used to paint, he painted I don't know, 5 or 6 portraits of women. And they were, like Picasso's really cubist type women. Well, Picasso was interpreted as not liking women, treating them badly, which of course sometimes he did, so that stuck to him. But the other fellow that I'm trying to think of at the moment and can't, William, doesn't matter. Anyway, he painted about 5 or 6 women. Oh, thank you, de Kooning. Thank you very much, yes, de Kooning. And he actually was tarred as hating women, not treating women well or not thinking of women well. But actually what he was doing was painting these women as women that weren't treated well. And so it's a different interpretation. So this is how we all interpret things our own way. I expect people to interpret my paintings whatever they feel, whatever they, whether it's, I love that. Oh, I love that little piece there. Anything. It doesn't matter. It's just you looking into the painting and feeling it from yourself, being real, not being frightened to actually feel something for something.
I wonder, Faye, if your expression and the way that you, or all abstract art, I think, perhaps is speaking on a level of the collective. Like, because you're feeling what you're feeling, it'll be different to everybody else, but ultimately you're feeling something there. And that perhaps, I think abstract artists are personally answering a statement and a question, and I don't know whether you agree with it, but you're more about being a conduit to the subliminal type symbolism that comes through the collective, like the collective unconscious.
You mean like series?
Like what?
Series.
Series?
Well, doesn't series take from all around the world from different satellites and give the answer?
Oh, yeah.
So collectively.
Series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so collective. Yeah. So I think that can be a part of it because I do feel sometimes like it's not me painting, it's some conduit, yeah. So I think you can, but I really don't know the answer to that question. it's
Painting behind you is a powerful painting. Do you think that it stirs a similar sort of reaction in all of us? Do you think we have, it might be within a range, but a similar sort of segment of emotions when we all, is there something collective in that one behind you that we probably all feel? Because it's quite a powerful painting.
I think people would probably feel that power, really. We've all seen sentinels all around the world, and we think of sentinels as strong, upright, upstanding, proud, fearless. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think most people would actually feel that in it. And what else they feel, I don't know. It's up to them to respond how they want to. And that makes it personal to them. Yeah, good question.
Another one over here?
I don't have a question, but I just really like to thank you and appreciate the way you've expressed yourself about talking about the depths of the feelings from within for your creating. And like a lot of people, as already stated, are unsure or don't like abstract. And by listening to you and your interpretation, I'm realising that, like, to me, it's, if I see abstract, it doesn't always get to me, but when I do like something, I feel it very powerful. But I'm thinking, is that why people, again, we're talking about the inner depths of a person. And when people say that they don't like it, is it because they're fearful of what that painting or creation is creating within themselves, that they haven't actually been brave enough, I think, to delve with into themselves? Or is it evoking something that they probably kept hidden, and eventually that it might just come out?
That's a good
and
question.
see, they then understand the painting or understand the feelings of whether it's a positive or negative. But I appreciate it, and thank you once again.
Well, I think that can happen because one day, very many years ago, I was getting so deep into this unconscious part of myself, the deepest part, that things were just coming out on the canvas. And one day I was painting this, it's a very ethereal thing. I don't know why it came out. And I jumped back and I went, whoa, where did that come from? And I have no idea where that come from, but it was almost like, I think it was, I think you could probably describe it as another part of yourself which you've never known. Yes, and I think that does happen. And that's beautiful, actually, when that does happen, if you're not frightened to actually allow it to continue and resolve. Yes, which I wasn't this day. This was very early in the piece, so I wasn't this particular day. But I wish I had that image now because it was powerful. It was very soft and misty, but it was so powerful. So that was my one time of being a coward. Thank you for that.
I'd like to just make comment, not a question, just make comment. Being the owner of probably your first ever into abstract art, which still hangs on my wall all these many years later.
It was a lot of years ago.
And also being the owner of probably, in my opinion, the best abstract piece of art you have ever done in your whole life. And just make the comment that I don't look at that picture and think of what you were thinking or feeling at that time. I look at it as to what I feel when I look at the picture.
Yes.
And even after owning it now for 12 months?
Yeah, probably longer. Probably longer.
Every time I look at that picture, I see something different. And I think to myself, I must tell Faye that I see that in that picture because she hasn't seen the things I see.
No, this is what it is, isn't it? You know, we look through our own eyes, not other people's eyes. So.
The picture behind it, I don't like it. I don't like it because it gives me, I think it's very ominous and it gives me a very bad feeling.
Forceful. It's forceful.
So, and that's just my.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh no. Oh, thanks for those comments. I love those comments because they're honest, and I love them. Thank you, Judy. Yeah, thank you for all your honest questions. Yes.
When you say you're emotive and emotional when you're painting, so when you start a painting, a new painting, do you have to work at that till you've finished, or can you leave it and come back to it? And how does your emotional state change from day to day when you're picking up and stopping and starting?
I can go back to some of them. But it's a funny thing about Sassy Tourist, the Sassy Tourist one in there, sorry. That was the second painting I'd painted. I lost my husband 4 years ago, so everything changed. And I was painting this particular Sassy Tourist and it was just coming. And anyway, I nearly got to the end of it and all of a sudden I saw something and it made me emotional, so I couldn't paint for a couple of hours after that. And what I saw was, I'll tell you what I saw because you're all going to see something different. What I saw was my husband's left shoulder and his head shape and my shoulder, right shoulder, and my head buried into his chest. And I couldn't see anything after that for a while. I had to knock off that painting and go back to it. But everybody else sees a landscape from above, and other people many other people, and I'll tell you, they're all men, they all see a bull. And everybody sees a bull.
I saw the bull.
Sorry?
I saw the bull.
You saw the bull? Isn't that funny? So that's just what I mean. That's what's so great about abstract art. But that's what happened to me then. And so, but the first 4 paintings I did after my husband died, he was in every one of them. It just in every one of them. Oh, there he is again. So it's a kind of an emotional thing. An abstract painting, like when people say, "Oh, my 60-year-old kid could do that," I say, with intent, could they really? But one thing I will say about young children, before they're dumbed down and influenced so much that they don't have any creativity in themselves anymore, is that when you're a child, you're terribly creative and imaginative. Everything you do is exciting, and that's what we lose when we get older, because we're dumbed down for lots of different reasons and lots of different ways. And then we don't have that excitement. If we could put ourselves back in that 6-year-old child's head, we'd be excited about everything because it'd all be new. So I think you've got to try and keep the child in me, because I think the child is a great thing.
Very good. Any more questions? No? Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thanks
you.
for joining us today. So if you're interested in any of Faye's artworks, just let Corey or myself know, and we do have a few others out the back. Also, Faye will be back.
Yes.
She's coming back on Friday the 11th of April to do a talk art sort of informal session in here. So you're welcome to bring a piece of art and you can talk about it together.
Do an art appreciation.
Yeah, art appreciation. So it'll be $5 cash if you do want to, just to contribute to fuel for Faye. And we're just asking you to register your intent to attend before the Wednesday at 5 o'clock. So there's little papers. If you're interested, just let me know or talk to Faye and we can give you those. And you're welcome to stay for a chat, have a browse. I'll be setting up the table up the back with some light refreshments, some scones and cream and things. And I want to thank you all so much for coming, and congratulations, Faye, on your exhibition.
Thank you. And I hope this gallery keeps going on for a long time, because we need them.
Thanks, Faye. Oh, and thank you for watching online. We can give away.
Thank you. I forgot I was online.
That's all right.